One of our brethren some years ago spoke of the payment of tithing as fire insurance. Nonetheless, the word of the Lord is clear that those who do not keep the commandments and observe the laws of God shall be burned at the time of his coming. For that shall be a day of judgment, a day of sifting, a day of separating the good from the evil. I would venture a personal opinion that no event has occurred in all the history of the earth as dreadful as will be the day of the second coming, as fraught with the destructive forces of nature, as consequential for the nations of the earth, as terrible for the wicked, and as wonderful for the righteous.
In coming days, we will see the greatest manifestations of the Savior's power that the world has ever seen.
Travis Wayne Goodsell. I was going to cover the comment reply by Jasmine talking about how hot she is. But instead we'll postpone that. Oh, boo. And talk about a prophecy of Joseph Smith by somebody else. So we're going to look at it in its context. I've done the videos. I know all about this subject. And so this is something new. It's something I'd heard of because of a news story that came out today, in which, didn't Joseph Smith? Oh, okay. So, yeah. In the news story today, the Texas governor is further demonstrating that he has seceded from the nation and that Texas is an independent nation now, as he is now following up on the law to arrest immigrants and instead is going to ship them off to Chicago. He held up the paper, going to Chicago. There's a massive influx this year than previous years, and he's now sending them to Chicago. We already know this is illegal if the United States were intact. We already know the federal Congress are the only ones allowed to deal with immigration. States are not allowed to deal with immigration. And the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints knows this all too well, because Brigham got busted under John Taylor for their perpetual immigration fund, which was human trafficking plus sex trafficking because of tithing and polygamy. But the perpetual immigration fund, when paid off by the Mormon slaves who couldn't afford to come with the Danite company of the first group, they then were granted citizenship by Brigham Young. Oops! Only Congress can do that. And so this criminal church was shut down by the United States of America. It ceased to exist, the priesthood gone from the face of the earth, if they ever had any. Well, they were only missionaries anyway. Only the keys of Peter, that's it. Those lowly keys of Peter. And so Texas is also pulling the same stunt that Brigham Young did, in that instead of giving them citizenship, he's passing the buck off to Chicago to deal with it. We already had Martha's Vineyard previously, that this was an inhumane and cruel and unusual punishment and a violation of Congress's role to regulate immigration. But we have MAGA in charge of our Congress, and are not being held accountable for their insurrection against America and being removed by the 14th Amendment, Section 3. And so now all of a sudden everybody's going, oh, wow, this isn't the Constitution. I guess we better talk about it to our audience and explain the 14th Amendment, Section 3. Go back to 1. God. And so, and there are a whole bunch of other issues that I've been talking to you guys about. Now all of a sudden the news is aware of the Constitution. Hey, we've got this thing called the Constitution. I wonder what's in it. Dear God. And so, Chicago was what triggered my associative memory to Joseph Smith. And it's not in our scriptures. This is considered to be a latter-day prophecy. And so, one of the persons who had quoted this was an ex-friend of mine, Ed Goebel. He has an article on academia.edu, The Constitution Hanging by a Thread, in which he goes over all of the prophecies that he knew of about the latter days and the government collapsing. And so this particular prophecy was included in it. And if you're wondering, well, what happened with Ed? Well, he betrayed us. I guess I got to go back to the beginning, don't I? In the beginning, I had deciphered Paleo-Hebrew and was on YouTube and publishing on Amazon, and hadn't started my website yet. And, well, I did have a website, but it wasn't the website yet to post videos and music, not just linking to YouTube videos. But he contacted me and said that he had seen my YouTube channel and was impressed with my scientific approach to deciphering Paleo-Hebrew, and asked if I wanted to be a part of a group of a couple other guys who were trying to form a scientific-based church group to counter the abominations of Mormon apologists who only use fallacies. And so we had done some stuff. We were emailing back and forth, but we really couldn't get off the ground. I was able to arrange one lecture series for us at our local library in West Valley, which too many issues. But nonetheless, it was a little fun hobby thing to do. But we couldn't get publications going, and then out of the blue, Ed informs us that he had caved to apologists who offered him a tempting deal to turn to the dark side, to speak at a lecture, or at least have an article presented, and not speak, if he would turn from his pursuits that he was doing with our group. And so he instantly caved, wanting to be popular and accepted, and abandoned us. And so the group dissolved and disappeared from the face of the earth. And then they were all justified in attacking me when I started posting about how the church is the actual threat. How dare I? But that was after Ed abandoned us. So anyway, if they don't want to follow the science where it leads, that's on them. And so that's how I'm aware of him. And he quotes Nephi Packard, who is quoting his brother So this is a dubious source, to say the least. It's not even a secondhand source. And so there's no legitimate reason to believe this in and of itself. But in the context of the bigger picture and with what just happened today, it may have some merit. So we're going to investigate, see what we find out. So this is a live investigation, and we're holding off on how hot Jasmine is to go over this. I'll deal with it when we get to your comment. And so he says, my brother, Noah Packard, says that he heard the prophet Joseph say that the next great U.S. Civil War, after the War of the Rebellion, which was a civil war, would commence in a little town now called Chicago. But at that time, it would have grown to be a very large city. And another brother told me that the prophet said that the cause of the next great trouble of the United States would be the depreciation of the currency of the United States. I believe I have given you all the facts in as short and concise manner as possible. Yeah, assuming they're factual. And so, the next Civil War is what's important here. A depreciation of the currency, collapse of the economy. But he doesn't even say the other brother. I think he had two others, if I saw the genealogy correct. And so the reference that he gives is 55. So let's go down, check for 55. A. Milton Muser Papers, LDS Church Archives, letter from Nephi Packard to A. Milton Muser, 24th July, 1896. Okay, so the church has been shut down, and here Nephi Packard is now talking about how he had heard something. Okay, so Noah Packard, his biography from the Joseph Smith Papers. He was born 7th of May, 1796, died 17th of February, 1860. He was a farmer, surveyor, miner, born in Plainfield, Hampshire County, Massachusetts, son of Noah Packard and Molly Hamblin, moved to Parkman, Geauga County, Ohio. Probably butchered that. 1817. And married Sophia Bundy. Ted Bundy's. Wouldn't be surprised. Bundys were Mormon. 29th of June, 1820. At Parkman. Baptized into the wrong name of the church. It was the Church of Christ. By Parley P. Pratt, June 1832. God, they refused to tell us the truth. It's just, oh my God. Ordained a priest by Joseph Smith, 3rd December 1832, now in Kirtland, Geauga County, Ohio. So he pretty much stayed in Ohio. And Parley P. Pratt was a member of Sidney Rigdon's church out there in Kirtland as well. And so it's unclear as to whether or not he was a part of Sidney Rigdon's church. They don't tell us. But the fact that it was 1832 when he got baptized suggests that that is not the case, that he was in the surrounding areas and in the county, but not in the city where the church was of Sidney Rigdon. He was appointed to serve a mission back to Parkman, or in Parkman, where he was from, 5th December 1832. Left to serve a mission to the eastern states, 23rd of April 1833. Ordained an elder by John Gould, 6th May 1833, at Westfield, Westfield, New York. Appointed president of the Parkman branch, 1833. So he's pretty much staying in Parkman. Moved to Kirtland, 1835. Now a new name of the church has emerged since 1834. Anybody know what that name was? No, never, Jesus. Never. That's the Danite name. It was the Church of the Latter-day Saints now. Ordained high priest, 13 January 1836. Member of Kirtland High Council. That's the Administrative Council, 1836. Brigham was only put in the missionaries. This guy was promoted over Brigham. But you have to know the differences of administration. And so this guy is full on Joseph Smith. He is not a Danite whatsoever. This is being made very clear by the facts that they are telling us and the lie that they threw in. Stockholder in the Kirtland Safety Society, and was sabotaged by the Danites, who took out loans and didn't pay them back, and thus his stock busted. Left Ohio for Missouri, late fall 1838, but instead spent winter at Wellsville, Ohio. Not a part of the Danite-Mormon War. See what's going on here? All of the knowledge and study I've been doing on this early church, I am now able to go over this and identify his role in the church and what he wasn't a part of. Okay? This is going to count towards the credibility of his character for the prophecy that he claims Joseph Smith told him. See how we're doing this? Located at Quincy Adams, Illinois, 1839. And so he stayed away from the Danites. Moved to Commerce, later Nauvoo, Illinois, 18 May 1839. Served as counselor in the Nauvoo High Priest Quorum presidency under Don Carlos Smith, younger brother of Joseph. And then George Miller, 1840 to 1846. Served missions to various U.S. states, 1841 to 1843 and 1845. And so you see, even though he was not affiliated with the Danites, after Joseph Smith was assassinated, he was unaware of the Danites whatsoever because he wasn't involved with them, wasn't even living near them. So he assumed that Brigham Young was therefore the new president of the church, not knowing of the danger. And so, 1845, after Joseph Smith is dead, he serves a mission under Brigham Young. Agent for church to collect funds in Michigan for the Nauvoo Temple. A ledger that came out right before Thanksgiving this year. Right, Nelson? He rushed it so that you guys wouldn't find out about it, but would be before the big news after. That I'm the only one who covered. Because I'm the only one paying attention to this church. And so, yes, section 119 is a Danite forged document and was used to justify the tithing that they claimed from the ledger was for the temple. Nope. This was the secret collection for Danite membership dues. And so then after Joseph is dead, then he says, we're still collecting for the temple. Give it to me now. And those who chose not to go with Brigham Young didn't go with Brigham, but Packard did go with Brigham, it does appear, as that is the case here. Moved to Hazel Green, or Wisconsin, 1846. Migrated to Utah Territory, 18 September 1850. So that was when he was finally able to afford to go. And the following year, 1851, settled in Springville, Utah County, Utah Territory. And they got that one right. Dear God. You just see them putting state of Utah. Where he was appointed first counselor in the branch presidency. An alderman in Springville city government, died in Springville. And so, 1851 was when Brigham Young ordered everybody to practice polygamy openly, and they do not indicate that he got a polygamous wife. They had him married to the little Sophia Bundy girl. The Bundys were polygamist. The Bundy Ranch. But it does not indicate that he practiced polygamy, despite Brigham Young ordering it. And so, did I remove that too? So the Constitution hanging by a thread, Ed was trying to tie them all together as if they're all part of the same condition. And yeah, I've been going over that with you. All prophecies for the latter days are to be within the latter day time period of 8 years, 2017 to 2024. And so if this prophecy is to be correct, it would occur within this time frame and would be in Chicago. And I need to bring it back up on the screen. I don't know why I deleted it. There we go. And blow it up. So he's... Seriously? And so he's saying that the next Civil War of America, the latter-day Civil War, Part 2, is going to occur in Chicago. And we are already witnessing states seceding from the nation, not just Texas, but all who are outright banning abortions in violation of the 14th Amendment, Section 1. All who are not allowing our federal Congress to determine immigration issues. States have to stay out of it. And so all of the states at our borders must give way for the federal government to regulate immigration into this nation. And if the federal government fails, there's nothing that the states can do. There's nothing that the president can do. Only Congress is to determine immigration. It is Congress's fault for not fixing the problem. It is Congress's fault for causing the problem because they didn't fix the problem. It was done at a certain period of time when people came in through New York. And so things changed, and they changed the process to sabotage it and make it an issue, and now they're not even bothering to deal with it. And so the states and the presidents are getting blamed. And it's not their problem. It's our Congress's problem. And our Congress is overrun and controlled by insurrectionists who were supposed to have been removed from Congress and locked up in prison. And so, the Constitution is not hanging by a thread. It's been severed. Our nation has fallen. Joseph Smith, in that actual document, which I think he does reference, I think he should have, because he talks about Section 101. Yeah, 19 July 1840. Yep. And it's not the record of Martha Jane Knowlton Correa. It's Joseph Smith. She's the scribe. She's not the prophetess. Dear God. Ed. It's in the Joseph Smith papers. And so, is this B or is this A? And beware the enemy. He does say before this time, that's why Brigham Young didn't publish it. Oh, there he is. He's got the wrong paragraphs from it. He's not quoting it accurately. He's getting it from another source rather than the Joseph Smith papers. And so, here's where he quotes it, and he didn't even understand what he read when he put it in here. He still thinks that Jackson County, Missouri is where we're going to Zion, as he discusses that in his paper here. But it is not the temple in Jackson County, Missouri, as some suppose. How complicated is that for Mormons to understand? We're not going back to Missouri. And yet even I, in my most popular video in 2017 of July, was saying, oh, the return to Missouri. No. The Joseph Smith papers, right there. Joseph Smith says, it is not the temple in Jackson County, Missouri. The Latter-day Temple is somewhere else, and he tells us where. It's in southern Illinois, where X marks the spot of the signs in the heaven on earth. But nobody wants to believe. Got all these hundreds of new subscribers, and I'm not even able to get 50 views of these new subscribers. Where did all the older subscribers go? What's happening? YouTube. And so, let's get to the Constitution. And so he's talking about the parable he gave, which we have published in section 101. And oh, good. They put in the quote here. He put in the quote rather than put ... as in the Joseph Smith papers. And so then the enemy shall come as a thief in the night, scatter the prophets of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Yes, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. You forget that before this the time shall be when those who are now my friends shall become my enemies and shall seek to take my life. And there are those now before me. Brigham Young and Heber C. Kimball are in the audience. Brigham Young's the president of the Quorum of the 12 now because of the coup in 1838. Who will more furiously pursue me, the more diligently seek my life, to be more blood... And he didn't quote this accurately from the document. Bloodthirsty upon my track than ever were the Missouri mobbers. You say among yourselves, here's how we know it's Brigham, as did them of old time, is it I, and is it I? Where does old time quote get this quoted from? Give you a hint. Mark chapter 14. The Last Supper. And so Joseph Smith is just brilliant. Mormons, they draw near him with their lips, but their hearts are far from him. To know that he is going to be murdered by Brigham, to call him out in public, using the Last Supper for the latter days, that Brigham's usurped Church of Joseph Smith would be the latter-day threat to the United States of America, for the Constitution to be upon the brink of ruin, which we didn't get to. I got to go back to that, don't I? To call him out as Judas. Now, do you see why Brigham Young didn't publish it? All right, and so okay. And even this nation will be on the very verge of crumbling to pieces and tumbling to the ground. This is the latter days, 2017 to 2024. And when the Constitution is upon the brink of ruin. Yeah, it's fallen. It's not on the brink anymore. States are already seceding. Americans have lost their rights. Our government has fallen. It has been couped by the enemy, working with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints through the Council for National Policy. The plot of the Danites to blame Jesus, as Nelson gets at the Pulpit of Conference in 2018 at April Conference, and in October 2022, in the coming days, you'll see the marvelous powers of Jesus. What powers? Where is he? It's Nelson. Nelson is doing it. Nelson is giving the orders through this Council for National Policy, through Mormons who are in Congress and in the Senate, through corporations, through the state of Utah, by paying our enemies To cause the war in Ukraine? To cause the war against Israel? Etc., etc., etc. Buying up the land of the whole world for them to take over after World War III. Just like Albert Pike told Giuseppe Mazzini. The doctrine of Lucifer in full view of the Illuminati with the inverted pentagram on the keystone of the doors of the Salt Lake Temple, of which Brigham and Heber were a part of that Illuminati group that threatened America on 9/11, 1826. And found out that Joseph Smith Sr. was the guy who saved America, and so they sought revenge, joined the Church of Christ, went on missions, claiming it's the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, claiming that the Book of Mormon is another testament of Jesus Christ rather than the learning of the Jews, to purposely destroy the church and take it over and use it as a cover until they can prepare for the latter days and the ultimate destruction of America and the return of the kingdom, the monarchy, for the millennium. And the palace of Jesus is being built. They're at Temple Square. And I warned you. And here it is. And so, yes, this Chicago thing could be. Because what is Chicago going to do once they get all the thousands of immigrants trying to find a place to survive? Texas has criminalized them. They haven't even done anything wrong. They're criminals just for existing and trying to survive. Trying to come to America to go through due process to become naturalized citizens. And the United States has fallen and refuses to naturalize them through due process. And now they're being victimized for wanting to follow due process. And so, yeah, Mormons were supposed to be the staff upon which the nation should lean and bear the Constitution away from the very verge of destruction, except that Mormons were a part of the destruction of the Constitution and the United States of America. Oops. So I guess Joseph Smith is a false prophet. Mormons have proven that their founder is false by not being obedient to Article of Faith number 12. We believe in being subject to kings, presidents, rulers, and magistrates, and obeying, honoring, and sustaining the law. And the prophecy in the Book of Mormon of Captain Moroni to save the Constitution of Mosiah from the kingmen who were attacking Zarahemla. So, yeah, I do give credibility to this claim of Noah Packard. And so pay attention to the news, see how this escalates. If this does trigger, finally, a civil war in America. It's already been brewing. We're just waiting for it to boil over and explode like the Iceland volcano, which also is putting out toxic fumes. Toxic fumes are everywhere in this world, here in Utah and around the world. The air is being poisoned. Isn't that great? Okay, Jasmine, you're next. Hopefully today. It's 3 o'clock.